90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. More information is at farmbureauadvantage.com.
The remarkable soybean. From its oil, we get products like ink, candles, and paint. From its meal, we get a high-protein fiber used in foods and animal feeds. Natural soy is replacing chemicals and products you use every day. You can learn more about soybeans at vasoybean.com.
Would you like to put your business in front of rural America and the ag community every week? We have sponsorship opportunities available that will do just that. Contact us to find out how you can milk it for all it's worth. The minerals in our soil have a lot to do with the ultimate productivity of farm crops. This week, we take a look at one of the basic components of healthy soil, agricultural lime. What is it? Where does it come from? We'll also get an update this week on the efficiency of Virginia dairy farmers, and we'll review some of the latest apps that farmers are using on their smartphones. It's all straight ahead on this episode of Virginia Farming. I'm Jeff Hische. One of the most prominent faces in American agriculture is a familiar face to farmers in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Lauren Arbogast of Timberville, Virginia, was recently selected by the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance to represent the industry of agriculture and build a bridge with consumers. Her path to this position is quite interesting. Sherry McKinney has the story.
Lauren Arbogast grew up in suburban Virginia Beach, but joined her husband Brian's family on their 600-acre poultry and beef operation in Rockingham County. While raising two sons and teaching in Harrisonburg, she had a large learning curve herself, learning every day about life on the farm. The desire to share that knowledge led her to build an award-winning Ag in the Classroom program at her school. She also started a blog to share agriculture story for those who know little about modern farming.
So I jumped into the wide world of social media about 4 or 5 years ago, really heavy. Started with, just Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Then jumped into having my own blog, which is paintthetownag.com. And it started really as just a space for me to take my plans from the classroom that were touching on agriculture and dump it there for others to use. But from there it really just grew into more of a reflection of who I am as a woman on the farm and the things that happen on the farm, the stories that are told, how we interact as a family here in rural America. And so that really has been a great outlet for me, and I think a great voice for agriculture in general. So I look forward to that continuing over this next year as a Faces of Farming for USFRA.
Growing up, Arbogast was an outdoors person with lots of family pets, but considered herself a city girl before moving to the farm.
This was just something that fascinated me completely. Stepping into the first year we were dating, stepping into a chicken house that held 30,000 chickens. I mean, it's something that will blow your mind, seeing a calf being pulled for the first time or helping a mother, in a birth. It was something so out of my ordinary that I couldn't almost help but not be, fascinated with this. And as the months and the years rolled on, it just truly became my passion. So, and I'm just blessed and so happy to be able to advocate for the industry today.
She was part of the Second Class Valor, which stands for Virginia Agriculture Leaders Obtaining Results Group, a Virginia Tech organization. Here, she gained valuable agricultural leadership skills within the state's largest industry. And late last year, the U.S. Farmer and Ranchers Alliance chose her to serve as one of the 5 national spokespersons across America for 2017.
Virginia is a great space for agriculture. I mean, just think about the diversity that we have here in Virginia that a lot of other states don't have. And so I'm certainly grateful for that. I'm grateful for my 2 years in Valor that let me dig deeper into different parts of the state and what they had to offer. Also our international and national trip with Valor just really opened my eyes to what's out there for agriculture and how I can be a better advocate for it.
Arbogast's knowledge comes right from the farm. Today, she helps raise broiler chickens in 5 poultry houses and feed a herd of 400 calves each year. The Arbogast family also leases additional land to raise silage, feed, and bedding for their livestock. Her challenge is to take that knowledge of modern farming methods and translate it to a public that is often confused by mixed marketing messages and efforts to put emotion before science. She urges other farmers to join her.
To those involved in agriculture, my message would be start a conversation. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's on a plane or in the grocery store aisle or your social media platform of choice, just start a conversation. But really to come out at that, from a relationship standpoint. And to consumers, I would say, everyone is welcome at the table, and come join us at the table. If you have questions about food or farming, ask a farmer or a rancher. We're very transparent, we're honest, we do this for a living, so ask us.
One key message Arbogast has for consumers is that farming is a business first, and that family farms support thousands of families with future generations on the way. Farmers are the first to protect the environment and their land, and the first to change through growth or diversification in order to continue that tradition. In Rockingham County, Virginia, this is Sherry McKinney.
Congratulations to Lauren Arbogast, representing Virginia farmers as one of the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance Faces of Agriculture for 2017. Well, Virginia dairy farmers continue to become more efficient, producing higher quality milk and a higher quantity of milk. According to records provided by the Virginia Dairy Herd Improvement Association, productivity per cow has increased by more than 200% in just one generation. In 1980, the average dairy cow in Virginia produced about 1,700 gallons of milk per year. Now compare that to this year, when the top performing herds in Virginia are expected to produce nearly 3,600 gallons of milk per cow. Well, one of the most important of all mineral products to farmers is agricultural lime. What is it, and where does agricultural lime come from? That's our focus on Ag Insights, coming up next.
Today we're in Elkton, Virginia, and we're visiting Fraser Quarry. I'm joined by Rob Fraser. Rob, thank you so much for having us out here today.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.
Well, the main reason we came to this Elkton location is because it's very rich in limestone. And limestone is what you use to make ag lime.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Something a lot of farmers rely on and a lot of farmers swear by it. What is ag lime?
Ag lime is essentially pulverized limestone that can be used in an agricultural application to basically adjust the sweetness of the soil, adjust the pH of your soils.
Okay. And this spot we're standing in, of course, you can see the lime behind us.
Yeah.
But this spot we're in Elkton seems to be fairly rich in limestone. Why do you think that is?
Well, really, the entire Shenandoah Valley floor is composed of limestone. So I would say our entire valley here is a very limestone-rich environment. Specifically here at our Elkton plant, we have a more dolomitic limestone, which is a higher magnesium content.
Okay.
And we're actually in a different formation of limestone than we're at several other locations, which allows for that differentiation in between the magnesium and calcium's makeup.
Okay. So with that in mind, why is ag lime good for the soil? What does it do for the soil that makes it beneficial?
Really, you're adjusting the pH of the soil to allow for your crops to have more access to the nutrients that are already there, whether it's the potassium or the nitrogen or other nutrients that are already pre-existing in the soil. We try to shoot to keep our soil between 6.8 and 7 on a pH scale. And oftentimes when we're over-treating our soil with different fertilizers, you're adjusting that pH and it's dropping down, but low 6s, high 5s, sometimes as low as the high 4s. And by applying your ag lime to the soil, you're adjusting that pH, bringing it closer to 7, which is neutral. And really, you want to try to keep your soil between 6.8 and 7. And for example, if you have a soil that drops down somewhere to 5% when you're growing either alfalfa, corn, or soy, you're looking at a 25% reduction in yield, just by not being mindful and cautious of what the pH balance of your soil is. So by using consistent long-term applied use of our lime, you can help adjust your lime or your soil property pH back to that neutral state, which is going to produce your highest yield for your crops.
So we're standing in front of this huge pile of ag lime.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through the process. How did it get from being dug out of the quarry to this?
Really, it's a simple process, and you can look at a really complex plant and see a lot of different things going different directions. But simply, we use explosives to blast the material or push the material out of the ground and fracture it. And we move that to a crusher, and we have a couple different crushers at this specific location we use. And really, as the material gets ground finer and finer, it makes it to the last point, which is our mill. And we have a Bradley pulverizer mill here, and we're basically pulverizing small, fine limestone into a much smaller product like you see here.
Okay.
It's just reducing size, making little rocks out of big rocks.
Okay. Now, we see this here, and I see all these huge dump trucks around.
Yeah.
Does this end up in a bag? Does it end up in the back of the truck? How does it leave this facility?
No, we don't bag our product right now. Customers come, they bring their trucks, or they buy it through a wholesaler that's already picked it up here. But primarily, dump trucks come, gets loaded with the material goes to market, goes to the customer where they need it.
Now, you're certainly not the only quarry around who sells lime.
Right.
Is there something about your all's lime that might be different than other quarries or what we might find across the state?
That's a good question. There's lots of different quarries all across the state and across the nation. And really, here in the state of Virginia, we rely on the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services specs. Mm-hmm. You know, and basically each state can specify how the lime is to be composed. So we pride ourselves on making high quality lime because we have such a high percentage that passes through those specifications that we get from the state. Additionally, we take in and try to work with our consumer or our customer to adjust whatever they need in order to allow for a more efficient application and a long-term relationship to be developed.
Okay. Well, you talk about long-term relationship, and that seems to be the key for lime, because it's an amendment that goes into the soil. It's not necessarily fertilizer you're gonna see instantaneous results from. How long does the lime application last?
There's a lot of science behind it, and when you're looking at lime, there's basically a factor that we use called the effective neutralizing value of that lime. And if you have a product that is more coarse, which is a lot larger than, say, a lot finer material like you see behind us, that lime takes a lot longer to break down in the soil. So if a customer is buying lime that is really, really coarse, because it's easy for them to spread and it doesn't, doesn't create all that nuisance dust that we see sometimes, really they're hurting themselves. They think that they're investing into their product or their field, their infrastructure, but really they're just handicapping themselves. It takes longer for that lime to break down.
Okay.
So really you have to find the sweet spot between making sure that your lime is as fine as can be as possible based on the state's specs and guidelines, but also has a moisture content that allows you to spread that, and so you reduce that amount of nuisance dust or really investment that might blow away with the wind. And we try to keep our moisture content right at about 5% here, which allows for us to have a much finer lime, but with that moisture content doesn't create all the nuisance dust that would be blown away by the wind when you're spreading it.
So this finer lime, like what we're standing on, is really the best. And is it about the same price as the bigger chunks?
In a lot of situations, yes. What we've seen is across the state, prices do fluctuate and vary depending on what, if you're buying it retail or if you're buying it wholesale, etc. But by and large, prices are the same. A lot of different manufacturers, a lot of producers' specifications will change and be different. That's where your variable is.
Okay.
So what we strive to do is create a consistent product, and we do that through many different processes. We're constantly testing and evaluating our product to make sure that we are staying within those specifications like we advertise. When we look at it, it's really about making sure that our customer, in the application of lime or ag lime, they're getting the best return on investment for the money they're paying for their product.
Okay. And that return on investment when you're using something this fine will happen a lot quicker.
Yes, ma'am. Really, if you're looking at a coarser material and a finer material, a good example would be if you have a coarse material that's relatively the size of a bead of rice. That bead of rice, made up of ag lime, of limestone, can take between 3 to 5 years to break down the soil and have the effect that you're looking for.
Okay.
The finer material Takes about 2 to 3 months, sometimes on upward of 5 months, to actually have that break down in the soil and help adjust the pH of that soil back to a state where you need it.
So this fine ag lime, how is it spread? Do they spread it, or is it incorporated in with tilling, or how is it put on the soil?
For our large customers, our large volume customers, they're using ginormous spreaders on the back of trucks. For a homeowner, it could be as simple as getting a dolly with a spreader on it and just spraying it across your yard.
Okay.
But yes, you're spreading it to get it on the ground. There's also some more high-tech means when you're looking at variable rate application, and really you're using some technologies like GPS, maybe some drone technology to help measure the soil properties of the fields and which areas are hot spots on your field and which aren't. Those hot spots being areas where you might need to add a little bit more lime. And basically you can tailor your application process so you're cutting your costs, but also making sure that it has the most effective end state on the field itself.
So this is not only good for our farmers who are growing crops like corn and soybeans, but this is also good for gardens and
Absolutely.
lawns?
Gardens and lawns. The biggest thing there is whether you're a high volume or small volume customer, to make sure that you're cognizant and aware of what the pH or the soil properties are that you're dealing with. And then it's really just knowing, what do I need to do to adjust that to get it to the state where I'm going to have my highest yields? Whether it's a green grass that you're looking for in the summer or a large volume yield when you go to harvest in the late fall.
So if a farmer or even a consumer wants to find out what the pH balance of their soil is, what should they do?
I would have them contact the extension agency or work through one of their local co-ops, and they can either direct them to a third-party service, maybe a third-party lab that'll offer that service, or do it themselves based on the volume of what they're doing.
So let's talk about your customers a little bit. Where are your customers? Are they statewide, nationwide? Who uses your ag lime?
Yeah, so the majority of our market area is here in the Shenandoah Valley. We're very fortunate that God blessed us with a valley that has its roots in the agrarian society, a lot of farms. However, if you go east of the Blue Ridge Mountains, there's little to no limestone, which means there's little to no access to agricultural lime other than what is produced in a place like the Shenandoah Valley and shipped over there. So we're expanding our market right now, working to get into those different market areas east of the Blue Ridge. And I would say primarily in the Eastern Shore region.
Right, where their soil seems to be a little more acidic.
Yes, and they need that lime to help adjust that pH balance.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that brings up an interesting point thinking about the Eastern Shore, because so many of our farmers are concerned with the runoff that might be going into the Chesapeake Bay
Absolutely.
or any of our other
Yep.
water supplies. Let's talk about ag lime and the cleanliness for the environment.
Really, your only concern with the application of ag lime is more of the nuisance dust, and that's the dust that blows away when you're spreading it. And there's a lot of different situations can develop. We're looking primarily at the respiratory issues, but specifically when we're looking at groundwater and wastewater, if you will, runoff, limestone calcium carbonate is a basic material, which means that it is probably the best thing that you can have in your water to help adjust the acidity levels of the water itself. We sell a lot of stone in other areas, repairing and repair being one. You're looking at the bank and slope stabilization of streams and creeks to help reduce the runoff of some of those total suspended solids that enter the water, but also to help adjust the pH back to a basic or more neutral area. So really when you're looking at the application of ag lime, it's probably the best thing you can do for your field and for any sort of runoff or wastewater that might leave your property. Much better than some of the fertilizers that we're putting on our fields right now.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about return on investment.
Yeah.
What are some of your customers seeing their return being after using ag lime?
It really varies. We've had some customers that had never had any soil test done on their fields. They got their soil tested and realized that they had some pretty acidic soil, basically over-fertilized soil. Throughout several applications, we were able to bring that pH of that soil back to a basic neutral area where their crops were thus getting a better yield, or having a better yield when they went to harvest. And really you're looking at the absorption ability of your plants to gather and grab the nutrients that are already pre-existing in the soil.
So it lets the plants absorb all the nutrients they need better.
Yes, ma'am. The nutrients, by and large, are already there in the soil. But if we have over-fertilized soil, more acidic soil,
Okay.
your plants aren't grabbing them as effectively. And that's where I kind of touch on the fact that, say I have a field that's somewhere in the range of 5% or 5 on the pH scale, that's a 25% reduction in your return before you even plant the first seed. you're looking at 25% right off the top. And those are huge numbers when we're looking at some of these much larger farms. But even for a small landowner, a small farmer, that has its effects.
And in essence, because of the job the ag lime does, you don't need to use as much fertilizer.
Absolutely, yeah. And by not using as much fertilizer, you're saving money in that respect, but you're also helping preserve the local environment or community around it. We're looking at runoff issues. Over application of fertilizer, you have some pretty disgusting runoff that gets into all of our drinking water supply. And that has an effect downstream. Mm-hmm. We're dealing with a lot of stuff in the Chesapeake Bay right now, seeing a lot of municipalities instituting these stormwater fees. Well, I can tell you that the same thing is going on some of the fields, and we're not necessarily cognizant and aware that it's happening. So by applying lime, you're reducing how much fertilizer you need to put on each and every year. You're one, saving money, but two, you're also making sure the nutrients that are in the soil aren't getting washed downstream. You're not just throwing money away.
Okay. Well, if people want more information on ag lime, where should they go for more information?
FrazierQuarry.com.
FrazierQuarry.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Get in touch with one of our stone experts. Be more than happy to help you out. Also, if you're interested and don't take our word for it, you can contact your extension agency or co-op, get them to come out and start testing your soil. Once you have an idea of where you're at, we can help to get to where you need to be.
Rob, thank you so much for having us out today.
Thank you, Amy.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
We'll be right back.
Well, this week we take a look at some popular apps that may be of interest to Virginia farmers. Almost every farmer has a smartphone these days, and some of these apps can increase the efficiency of managing a farm operation. The first app on our review list is called Cattle Market Mobile. This app is free, and it's designed to help cattle producers monitor current auction prices all across the United States. The app provides current reports produced by the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service, as well as reports composed by local livestock markets. Whether you're looking for prices for feeder steers and bulls, feeder heifers, or slaughter cows, it's all right here. The next app is called Farm Logs and offers an opportunity to store most, if not all, of your farm's crop data in the palm of your hand. The free version offers field mapping, rainfall tracking, soil maps, and scouting. Numerous upgrades are available for expanded levels of farm management. If you need help identifying a certain weed, look no further than Weed ID. This handy app from BASF helps farmers to identify which weeds have invaded their fields, so they can determine the best method to get rid of them. The extensive library contains more than 1,000 images of over 140 different weeds. And finally, if you're in the market for farm equipment, and what farmer isn't, the app to use is Tractor House. Here you'll find everything from hay equipment to orchard sprayers, from fertilizer spreaders to cultivators. Lots of full-color photos and a wealth of information. Thanks to mobile devices and these free apps, Virginia farmers are working smarter, not harder. Our pearl of wisdom this week comes from an anonymous viewer who says, "The best antiques are old friends." Amen, brother. You can submit your own pearl of wisdom through our website at virginiafarming.com. That does it for our show this week. Be sure to watch Virginia Farming next week as we visit one of the largest greenhouse operations in Virginia. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Jeff Ishii for Virginia Farming.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they work so hard to establish. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, and there's a local Farm Bureau in every county. More information is at vafarmbureau.org.
Virginia soybean farmers are hard at work growing soybeans to produce products you use every day. Candles, soaps, even crayons can be made from soybeans. Remember, when you buy soy, you're helping to support American jobs, the economy, and our nation's energy security.
Agriculture Week is March 19th through the 25th, 2017. Did you know Virginia agriculture generates 311,000 Virginia jobs and has an economic impact of $52 billion a year? On average, a Virginia farmer produces enough food to feed 155 people each year. Take a minute, March 19th through the 25th, to thank a farmer for what they do. This message brought to you by Virginia Farming Television in commemoration of Virginia Agriculture Week.